It's time, Cougar Nation. Cougar Tracks. The best season analysis with BYU insider Mitch Harper on KSL NewsRadio and on video every day on the YouTube page for KSL Sports.
Welcome into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube and KSL News Radio. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper, and BYU football is flying high. The Cougs are 6-0 and now number 15 in the AP Top 25 poll. We're unpacking everything that happened in that double overtime win down in the desert over the Arizona Wildcats.
The top story of the day. The biggest story in the world of BYU sports right here on Cougar Tracks.
The weather came down, but the winds continue to come up for the Cougars. BYU takes down the Wildcats 33-27 in double overtime to improve to 6-0 on the season. First time in program history, BYU has back-to-back seasons with a 6-0 start, and this team continues to be resilient. BYU's offense put up 430 yards, the first time Arizona's talented defense gave up over 400 yards this season. BYU was down 24-14 in the fourth quarter with about 11 minutes to go, and I won't lie, I thought in that moment, probably going to be over for the Cougs. It's going to be their first loss. They got to pick themselves up off the mat and get ready for the rivalry game to not let one loss turn into two. Well, I was wrong, and Kalani Sitake talked about the resilience and what caused his team to stay upbeat despite a double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter.
Honestly, last week when we won the game, it was kind of a weird feeling in the West Virginia game. And then K-Pop actually made a good point, and when I allow K-Pop and Jay and A-Rod to speak to the team, and K-Pop asked, he actually showed some clips of the West Virginia game where we made plays, Parker on the screen going all the way down for a touchdown, and the sideline just a little bit dead. It's like not even celebrating the energy. And on Chase's big catch, the 80-yarder, not a lot of it was dead. So he pointed that out, and it was actually eye-opening and embarrassing for me to watch because I was one of those. I don't know if we just want to be spectators, but we got to get involved in the game, and that means create energy. And I thought I appreciate K-Pop being able to see that and talk about it and show it visually to our players, and then our guys just fed off. I think even when we were in here on the delay, the guys were upbeat and happy. I just try to get them calmed down because they were having so much fun. It's just like we just talked about enjoying every part of not worry about the end result, just enjoy the time that we have to play in this game. Let's make the most out of the 60 minutes, I think was kind of what we were talking about, and we end up earning more time. We played double overtime. Obviously, I'd like to take care of the game earlier than that, but it was really fun. I just felt like it was kind of needed this win. We needed this type of game. It was a lot of fun, though.
They did need this win, and it was a good win, and it's one that I think Cougar fans will look back on and say that was a very solid win, because I think Arizona is a good football team. Even their head coach, Brent Brennan, in the postgame for their team felt pretty good about where his team is at. They're 4-2 now, but I think they're going to be a bowl team and be highly competitive in the Big 12. And one of the reasons BYU got this win was because of the play of Bear Bachmeier. Third consecutive week, Bear has been named the Big 12 Freshman of the Week. He was 12 of 29, 172 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Kalani doesn't like that, but man, what a gritty competitor Bear Bachmeier is, and this was Kalani on his freshman signal caller.
Is there any way you can grow up without throwing interceptions? That would be really nice too, but it's part of the game. I get it. I think maybe you give Arizona credit for the disruption and what they did with their disguises. I thought Danny Gonzalez did a great job getting his defense ready and kind of confused us a little bit, but I thought Bear was really good with where he wanted to go with the ball when it was there, and wasn't trying to force it. And when he did, they made good plays on it. So keep working with him, but it's just we're mid-season now, so the true freshman is now just a freshman, and he's got 6 games. So this is a lot of things that we can learn from.
Bear's just a gamer, and he came through in the clutch with a game-winning touchdown for the Cougars, and that was quite a moment for BYU to get that game-winning touchdown. Double overtime. They still had to get a defensive stand, and the BYU defense rose to the occasion, which on a night where BYU's defense was beaten up, Jack Kelly tried to give it a go. He was a game-time decision. Ultimately, BYU held him out, which was the right move, an underrated absence on the defensive tackle spot, Anisi Purcell. He was out. This was a beaten up team. So it was a gut check moment, and what perfect way than a young 19-year-old signal caller to kind of lead the charge for the Cougars. It wasn't always pretty. It was a full range of emotion and change of momentum in this game with Bear Bachmeier, but he stayed the course and was poised throughout it all. There's a lot to improve for Bear. There's no doubt about that. But I think you love the fact that when the game's on the line, he's got a little bit of a clutch factor to him. Sometimes in these moments, even great quarterbacks will fold when a game is on the line late. Bear rose the occasion, and you like that about him. You don't like the fact that he had 22 carries in the game, 89 rushing yards. They got to get that number down. They have to. But the problem is BYU doesn't have a clear-cut number 2 running back right now. And that's unfortunate because without Sione Moa, it's pretty much L.J. Martin and Bear Bachmeier. And speaking of L.J. Martin, 25 carries, 162 yards, 1 touchdown. Your co-offensive MVP, player of the week in the Big 12 Conference this week. LJ is the man. He continues to shine for the Cougars. He was excellent, and it's going to be a big workload for him every single week going forward, I would imagine. I do also want to give a shout-out to Kyle Safarachok. Without Kyle Safarachok, BYU simply does not win this game. Bear Bachmeier did have a fumble. He had 2 interceptions in the game, but he also put the ball on the turf. And this was a moment in the fourth quarter, late in the game. You're down. You need a touchdown. Kyle Safarachok jumps on the loose ball on the turf and recovers that fumble. Arizona native. He was not going to be denied. He comes up with that thing. What a moment for Kyle Safarachok. He won you that game. He saved BYU getting that fumble recovery because without that, it's over. It's a wrap, and Arizona comes out with a breakthrough win in the Brent Brennan era. So got to give props to Kyle Safarachok. And honestly, BYU's offensive line, I thought, did a nice job and improved significantly in a week where Arizona's defense, I believe, is one of the better ones in the Big 12 Conference with that 3-3-5 scheme that comes from the Rocky Long coaching tree. I remember those days back in the New Mexico BYU matchups. Those were some heated battles when Rocky Long was there. And even when he was at San Diego State, he had some good teams. So it was a tough task to get through and get by this Arizona team, and BYU got it done. There's still room to improve. And I think what's exciting for the Cougars is that they're 6-0, excuse me. 6-0 midway point of the season, and they still are nowhere close to playing their best football. At least what you think. Maybe they've already reached their ceiling. We just don't realize it yet. But I'd like to think there's still more to be had with this team because you got a true freshman signal caller who continues to get better every single week, and every matchup poses some unique challenge. And the challenges continue to level up for Bear Bachmeier, and he gets faced with new adversity, and he continues to rise the occasion. It was a big win down in the desert for the Cougars. Let's take our first break. On the other side, we'll get to the stock exchange and rivalry week. It's here. BYU and Utah, say less. It's Cougar Tracks on the KSL Sports YouTube page and KSL News Radio. Welcome back into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube page. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to KSL Sports YouTube. Like this video, get the notification bell. It'd be greatly appreciated. BYU basketball making history. That Midnight Madness, Marriott Madness last week was awesome. Last Thursday before heading out to Arizona. Momentum is building for this Cougar basketball team as they get ready for the season. It's actually a game week for them too. Exhibition game this Saturday against Nebraska, 11 a.m. on Big Ten Network Plus. But the AP Top 25 poll was released for the 2025-2026 season, and BYU checks in at number 8. First preseason ranking since the 2010-2011 season, the highest preseason ranking in program history. Top 10 team already. Here's the top 10 in the AP Top 25. Purdue is number 1. Houston, number 2, defending national runner-up. Number 3 is Florida, the national champions. Number 4, UConn. Oh, my goodness. November 15th, BYU and UConn in Boston. Electric, pure cinema. Number 5, St. John's. 6 is Duke. 7, Michigan. 8, BYU. 9, Mark Pope and the Kentucky Wildcats. And 10, Texas Tech. Big 12 flavor in the top 10. 3 teams from the Big 12 in the top 10. Rounding out some other notables in the top 25, Arizona checks in at 13, Iowa State at 16, Kansas at 19, Wisconsin, team BYU is going to face at the Delta Center at 24, and then number 25 is North Carolina. BYU will have an exhibition game against the Tar Heels next Friday night in Salt Lake as well. So loaded schedule and outstanding starting position for BYU. Now, keep in mind, the AP Top 25 in college basketball, to me, really means nothing. The ratings that actually matter that came out over the weekend is the KenPom ratings. And interesting of note here, in the KenPom ratings, BYU checks in at number 18. That's fine. A little bit lower than I would expect. But here's what's noteworthy about KenPom's ratings on BYU. He's got BYU as the 6th-ranked Big 12 team going into the season. He's got Houston number 1 overall team in the KenPom ratings. Texas Tech, it's 2 at 12. Iowa State at 13, 3rd in the Big 12. 4th Big 12 team is Arizona at 15. Baylor, 5th at 17. It's pretty high. And then BYU, 6th at 18. Rounding out the Big 12, 7 Kansas, 8 Cincinnati, 9 K-State, 10 UCF. The lowest rated team in KenPom's ratings is Colorado. Everyone is in the top 100 in the KenPom ratings entering the season. That, to me, is more noteworthy than the AP Top 25. The AP Top 25 in college basketball, it's a cool status. It signifies how relevant you are in the college basketball talking head echo chamber. That's all that is. I look at KenPom, I look at Bart Torvik, things like that. That's, to me, more tangible and more impactful, honestly, when it comes to Selection Sunday, because KenPom and Bart Torvik have a role on Selection Sunday and building out resumes. So that kind of piqued my interest a little bit, seeing that, having BYU at 6th in the Big 12 entering the season. But one thing of note, too, on KenPom, he's got BYU's the 4th best offense in college basketball. Can't argue with that. This team's going to be loaded offensively, 55th in defense, which, not bad. A big jump from last year where BYU finished 82nd in adjusted efficiency on the defensive end in KenPom's metrics. So BYU basketball getting some preseason love, as you would expect. There's no surprise there, as the Cougs are going to be one of the best teams in college basketball this season, and it's about to tip off as they have a chance to live up to those expectations. Final timeout. We'll get to the stock exchange and BYU Utah week here on Cougar Tracks. Welcome back into Cougar Tracks here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports YouTube page. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this show, leave a 5-star rating and a review. It would help out the show a ton. Right now, on Mondays, you know what the drill. It's the Cougar Stock Exchange.
The Cougar Stock Exchange. What's trending up and what's trending down? It's the Cougar Stock Exchange.
That's right, it's the Stock Exchange. What's trending up and trending down? We'll keep it easy. Trending up, LJ Martin. Big 12 co-offensive player of the week. LJ is spectacular. Where would BYU be without LJ Martin? I still believe, and I've been saying it all season, the season goes as far as LJ Martin will take them. LJ Martin is a special football player, and it was fun to see him in Tucson, too, because he had a big contingent of family, obviously from the El Paso, Texas area, about 4.5 hours east of Tucson. So he had a good amount of family. Aunts and uncles were there. I saw some of his aunts and uncles at the hotel that I was staying at near the Tucson airport. LJ is a leader of this team. I think the physicality and the violence that he's playing with right now is a sight to see. And Arizona made the grave mistake of not stacking the box, and he will make you pay. If you don't stack the box against LJ, game over, folks. He will make you pay, and that's exciting for the Cougars. Also trending up, Bear Bachmeier's toughness. 22 carries, a game where passing the football the success was few and far between. Outside of that 75-yard completion to Parker Kingston, there wasn't much to write home about through the air for Bear Bachmeier. But he stayed tough, he stayed gritty, and I like that about Bear, that poise that Fesi Sitake has talked about on the show that showed up in Tucson. Also, Parker Kingston, 5 catches, 117 yards, 10 targets for Parker. He had that long of 75 yards. Also, the punt return game, too. That punt return late in the fourth quarter set BYU up in a manageable field situation to go score and get this thing sent to overtime. Parker Kingston's trending up, and that's exciting because finally healthy, feeling great, and he's playing some good football right now for the Cougars as he's an impactful player for BYU, and that's quite the sight to see. Trending down is, as I talked about earlier, the health of the defense. I think that is trending down just a little bit. I thought, by all accounts, though, I thought BYU played a pretty sound football game. I mean, it was competitive. Yes, the defense had some lapses, but I'm willing to give them a little bit of grace because of some of the personnel absences. Jack Kelly being out was massive. I mean, that just alters a lot of what this defense does and how they operate. And despite not having him, they win a football game on the road in a game that had a weather delay. It was a wild game, marathon game, 5 hours in length. But they were able to come out on top, and I think that's a positive thing for this team. I think that this group, they got to clean up the turnovers too. BYU had 2 turnovers in the game. Arizona only 1. You're not going to win many ball games with a negative turnover margin. That's happened the last 2 games. They've got to clean that up going forward because going forward, you know what's at stake. That's BYU and Utah as we transition to rivalry week. BYU, Utah. The Cougs are number 15 in the AP poll. Utah's number 23. It's the first top 25 rivalry matchup since 2009 between these heated in-state rivals. It will kick off at 6 o'clock on Fox. Extended pregame will begin on KSL NewsRadio right here at noon. Gosh, we're going to be all day talking BYU and Utah live from noon to 4, and then the broadcast from 4 to 6, and then, of course, kickoff at 6. It's going to be a loaded day of BYU versus Utah content here on KSL News Radio. I will say the Big 12 questioned their scheduling tactics. It worked. This October 18th date, which when it was released back in February, seems so weird to see, but it's paying off because 6-0 BYU, 5-1 Utah, one of the highest stake rivalry games maybe ever. This is probably the biggest game in the rivalry since 2008 when a Mountain West title was on the line. Utah had a BCS Bowl potentially on the line by being undefeated. It's the biggest game since then. 2009, it was 2 ranked teams, but neither team was going to win the league because TCU won it. This is the biggest high-stakes rivalry game since 2008 because BYU's undefeated. Utah's basically in an elimination game. They lose, your odds of getting to Arlington are really tough with 2 league losses. BYU can afford to lose, but you just don't want to lose any sort of momentum against your rival, and you're also chasing a Big 12 title and seeing how good Texas Tech is. You've got to keep up with a team that's probably going to be perfect this season. So stakes are incredibly high. BYU, of course, has a 2-game win streak over Utah. So I would say, honestly, that the pressure in this game is more on Utah. Utah's a favorite, slight favorite in this game. But the Utes have a little bit more pressure because they've lost 2 in a row. They're the favorite in this game. They have to live up to it. Where BYU is an underdog, come play loose. Yeah, you got an undefeated season. You want to maintain that. Absolutely. There's pressure that comes with that. But BYU has got 2 in a row on the rival. They've been winning on the recruiting trail. They got the momentum away from the field, too, over Utah. Kyle Whittingham, you would think, is probably nearing the end in his coaching career. He wants to capitalize, get to the playoff, get to the Big 12 championship, win the league. Time's ticking. You got to make it happen now. So I would say Utah's probably got a little bit more pressure in this one than BYU. Utah's a sound football team, though. They're really good. Much improved from last season, and we know what happened last year where BYU was the much better team than Utah, and it went down to the final play. These games in this series, since Kalani and Witt, they're always dynamite. They're always good. I mean, they've always been good. Even when it was Lavelle and McBride, Bronco and Whittingham, they've always been good. But I think one of the things that has shown up for BYU in these rivalry games in the Kalani era, they do always perform. The only game where I thought BYU laid an egg against Utah in the Kalani era was 2019. And that was Utah's best team, I think, Whittingham's ever had. So I don't want to say I excuse that, but context there, you were just outmatched in 2019. Every other game, it's been very close, and BYU has performed well and punched above their weight and performed at a high level. So I think BYU got a great chance here to get this win. Last time in Provo, BYU, I thought, dominated Utah. Dominated them in 2021. That was already 4 years ago. Isn't that crazy? The stakes are going to be off the charts. Fox's big noon kickoff is going to be on location in Provo for this game. So that adds to the aura, the significance of the game. And I thought that was noteworthy too, because big noon kickoff doesn't typically go to night games. They typically go to the noon Eastern 10 a.m. game on Fox. Or they really want to stretch it a little bit further, they go to the afternoon 1:30, 2 p.m. game on Fox, but they don't typically go to the night game. So this is out of the box for Fox to actually step out and go to the primetime game at night between BYU and Utah, and what a great matchup it is. You just think about the history, the tradition of BYU and Utah, the nastiness, the hatred. Look, I know that everyone wants to be friendly and say, but like, this rivalry is so intense. It is so good. BYU and Utah has been slept on for far too long in college football. I remember the days of the WAC, the Mountain West, where it was just local network television. Or at best, it's maybe an ESPN game. Sometimes it got a 10 a.m. game. But even in the Pac-12 independence era, it was always late night, 8:15, 8:30 game. This is a network television spot where the nation is looking at BYU and Utah, and both teams have high stakes. I don't see a game that compares to this, because even the 2008 game, that one was on the mountain. There was not the national appeal to this matchup. Everything here is on the line. It's the rivalry marbles all at stake for the Cougs and the Utes. And for BYU, a chance to get 3 in a row. Something they haven't done since the days of Lavelle Edwards. It's been decades since they got 3 in a row over Utah. Utah is looking to get back on the winning side of things. They had a 9-game win streak in this thing. So many high stakes. You add a conference tie-in. My goodness, the Big 12, I'll give you your credit. This worked out nicely. And you kind of always wondered, if they did take an unconventional path with the scheduling on this thing, how good this could be. Because they're looking to replace Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12, as the signature rivalry. BYU and Utah, maybe it doesn't have the glamorous bowl game-like feeling like Red River rivalry does, as we saw last week with Texas and Oklahoma. But the intensity, the hatred, the just quality of the games, BYU and Utah always lives up to it. Always lives up to it. It is a special game. It is an incredible game when it's in a conference. Now, I'm sure both sides would love to just never play each other again. But when you're in a conference, you got to do it, and it's so worth the price of admission. This thing is going to be electric. Kickoff at 6 on Saturday night in Provo, and we will have you covered throughout the week here on Cougar Tracks and KSLSports.com. That will do it for this edition of Cougar Tracks. I hope all of you enjoyed it. I'll be back Tuesday with more BYU and Utah content here on Cougar Tracks. It's going to be a week, folks, so buckle up. We'll be enjoying the ride here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSL Sports.